I wanted you to talk about, like, what do they do? I know this will be brief, but like, let's say they have something and they don't know if it's an MUI.
Okay, so if you have an incident and you're not sure if it's an MUI, first of all, anytime you have an unusual incident, you have to immediately ensure that the person is healthy and safe at that moment, directly after it happens. And then once you've done that, you need to write your incident report. If you're thinking that it could be an MUI, you email the incident report, an actual copy of the incident report to potentialmui@newyork.com. That email has been sent out, but I can resend it. But if you guys want to write it down again, it's potentialmui@newyork.com. And if you wrote the report by hand and you don't have any way to scan it onto your computer right away, that's fine. You don't have to send them a copy of the report. It's better if you can actually send them a copy of the UI report. But like I said, if for some reason you couldn't, you can email them a description of the incident. And with that, often they will come back and ask you additional questions because it may not contain enough information for them to be able to make a decision as to whether it is an MUI or not. But that's how you'll start out, is by either attaching the UI to an email or just putting the information in there, forwarding it to New York. They'll review it. Somebody on their end will receive the email, review it. They might respond and say, yes, this is an MUI, or no, this is not. Or they might respond and ask you more questions. They might need more information to make that determination. So just follow up with them as soon as you possibly can. We've had issues in the past where you have timelines. There are requirements for reporting at timelines and things like that. And we've had issues where maybe a timeline was missed because we were waiting back from it, waiting on them to answer us. And in those cases, it has not come back on us that we missed the timeline because we were waiting for them. So don't worry about that, but just make sure that if you are waiting on an answer back from them, if it's via email, make sure you're checking for that frequently so that you can respond as soon as you get the information. But so that's basically how you report. When you get an answer back, there's not going to be a person's name or phone number or anything like that. So again, that doesn't be kind of challenging if you don't necessarily know who you're talking to or have any other way to get a hold of them. But then if you hear back that it is an MUI, then that will kind of start the process for that.
Now, is it okay when they send it to potentialmui@newyork.com to copy the service coordinator?
Yeah, anytime that you're communicating with New York, copy the service coordinator, the person that the incident is regarding, just so that they're in the loop, they know what's going on. Rules and requirements say that you report to the county board within those timelines. New York is an extension of the county board. And so if you reported it to them, then you have reported, but at the same time, you do want the service coordinator to know what's going on so they can be doing any follow-up or anything like that. The service coordinator might get it, and they might think right away, okay, this is an MUI, and so they might choose to take that information and start doing their part. When something is an MUI that needs filed, a service coordinator has to do what we call an initial report that goes to New York, and it's like a 2-page report that kind of summarizes the incident, and it has a lot of information about the person, like medications and supervision level and all that stuff. So they might start working on that. And the service coordinator should just, you should always keep the service coordinator informed of anything unusual going on in the person's life. So it's just a good idea to keep them informed. Do you have any questions about that part?
Is there a fax number
From New York?
is it just New York's regular fax number? Or?
I would send it to the email. They're really not, are you able to email?
I'm not so sure about.
But not even to upload it, you can even just type out a statement.
If you
You don't even have to use that form.
Oh, they would prefer that you be able to attach the UIR, but if you can't, like I said, you don't have to, you can just type up a summary into the body of the email and send it that way.
And then you could ask them, if you want me to fax you the sheet, tell me a fax number. But then there's not a doubt that it's gonna be laying somewhere in a pile of fax papers, you know?
And I think
So,
because there are so many timelines and things like that, I think that they just try to kind of funnel everything through the email address, so that way they're not missing things, because they also have multiple people working in their MUI department, that way they're not getting voicemail over here and fax over here and email over here, and things aren't being missed or looked over, just kind of getting lost in the shuffle. You just email them everything. Email is also good because you can just copy the service coordinator on an email. If you fax it, you're going to have to fax one to New York and then either call the service coordinator or fax another copy to the service coordinator with email. You just copy it right to the service coordinator, so they have the same information that New York has. So, do you guys have any other questions about MUI, things that you're not sure about? And would you guys like copies of my business card in case you need to call me or have questions?
Yes.
I can pass them around. Can you pass it? Sure, please. And again, feel free to call me. The service coordinator, for specific situations, you'll want to call the service coordinator first and have them help you. But if it's a procedural question, just about MUI in general, feel free to give me a call, email, whatever you prefer, and you can just call my direct line. Great. Is there anything else you wanted me to address?
that was really it.
Okay.
And I know it seems small, but it was really big because we didn't have it in our
Yeah.
last training. So just to kind of have that straightened out.
And if you hesitate or anything happens, you're not sure, you can't get to a computer, if you're worried about missing your timelines, at least call the service coordinator. If it's, maybe abuse that requires that 4-hour initial notification to the county board, and you can't get to a computer and you can't email them, call your service coordinator. Don't be afraid. But New York is the one who is handling MUI for us, so we ask that you do notify them, copy your service coordinator, but don't miss your timeline or whatever because you can't get to that email address. Just give them a call.
But if it's just a UI, we just send that to the service coordinator and we don't have to do this then?
If it's a UI, yeah, but you don't send it directly to the service coordinator. It goes to the UI reporting email address. Okay. And you know what? I don't want to tell you the wrong address, so let me pull up my email and make sure I'm telling it to you correctly. Because if you guys maybe understood our internal process, you understand what happens is we have a secretary who gets all the UIRs. She enters them into this database system that the county board uses, and then once it's entered in, the service coordinator gets an alert that a UI has been entered for their person. The service coordinator goes into that database, reviews it, adds their notes, and signs off that they've reviewed it. They don't ever see that paper copy. This was a way to kind of streamline the process and to do away with paper. That's why we ask if you do have access to a computer, and some people complete the UI reports electronically. They just go into the form, type it up on their computer, and send it that way. We ask that you send it electronically if at all possible. If you do need to fax it, when it comes through on a fax, the service coordinator is not going to pick it up. It gets pushed into a mailbox for that secretary to get it out and to enter it into that database. With that said, if it is an MUI and you cannot copy that UI to the service coordinator via email when you're submitting to MEORG, you do need to send a copy of it to the service coordinator in addition to sending to the secretary, to the UI reporting address. So again, if you're emailing it, you send it to UI reporting and you just send a CC to the service coordinator. If you're faxing it or dropping it off, if you're dropping it off, you can tell the secretary when you drop it off, this is an MUI, can you please make a copy for the service coordinator? And they can do that. If you're faxing it and the copy is for the service coordinator, you need to note, like put a cover sheet on it and note MUI needs to go to the service coordinator so that they're aware of that too. That is only for MUIs. All of the other UIRs only go to UI reporting. If you get in here, I will confirm the address for you.
Thanks for asking that question.
I always get confused and I can never scan it or anything, so I always have to print it.
Okay, yeah, it is ui.reporting@lcountydd.org. Can you just send them an email with that and the order potential of the line?
Yep.
Just to follow up, okay. I do have your email addresses individually,
I'm
but
gonna
I
send it
wouldn't know
to
which ones are
all,
yours.
I'm
Okay.
gonna send it to
That's
all
fine.
the independents,
Okay.
just as a follow-up to today.
Okay.
So,
So, yeah, so if you have a UI, again, we also prefer that you send it on the computer to that address. If it's an MUI, CC the service coordinator. If you don't have access to do that on the computer, you can fax, but if it is an MUI, make sure you're writing on there so that it's very plainly can be seen. Otherwise, the service coordinator won't know, the secretary might get it, sit on it for 3 days before they enter it, and obviously that's a problem. So, do you have a question?
Yeah, okay, for the UI. No. When does the UIs need to be recorded?
If you have an unusual incident, we would, best practice is that you're going to get it to our office. I mean, do you use email at all or fax or, okay. Best practice is that you're going to get it to us within a day or two, but we ask that we get them within a week.
Oh, okay.
Again, best practice is to not wait until the 6th day and send it then.
Okay, it's just the UI logs that aren't needed until they're asked for.
Yes, but the actual incident itself, service coordinators in Licking County review every single incident that's written by any provider anywhere. Every incident report is reviewed by a service coordinator, each individual incident. So, but the logs, yeah, if New York needs to review those, they would ask for those.
so you would actually have time if a UI happened and you couldn't scan it to print it out and put it in
Yeah.
and mail it. So,
Yeah.
if you did it that day.
Yep, that would be fine. So, it's just, we try to keep, service coordinators want to know what's going on in people's lives, and it's because they have things that they might need to do that you might not think of, follow up or things like that, so it's just good to let them know. And if it's something that you think it's not an MUI, but maybe you think is really important and you are going to mail it and they're not going to get it for a few days, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and just call and say, hey, this happened, I just wanted to make you aware of it. They would
Yeah,
appreciate
and I
that.
mailed you the sheet.